I've been reading a lot of studies that a lot of men now are not having sex at all. And there's actually going to be a decline in population as time goes
Mhm.
on, as this progresses. I mean, it could get worse. I mean, there's sex robots coming. I mean, it's,
Yeah. And then
and
AI porn.
yeah,
It's like, and on the one hand, it's like, how could a real woman, even an attractive real woman, compete with every kind of woman with all sorts of augmentation? And
yeah,
then with the VR world, it's like a guy can maybe, I want this kind of experience to experience. Uh, you might have heard me mention this in one of my episodes, like the goat sheep's, not the goat sheep's, yeah, the goat sheep study,
yeah,
where basically they tried to mate sheep and goats. They tried to cross mate, which they wouldn't normally do naturally, and they raised them a certain way. They got them to do that, but then they put the goats and sheep in the study back with their original species, and the
yeah,
female goats and female sheep immediately went back to mating with their species because that makes more sense. But the males, because male mammals' brains lose plastic or lose plasticity after puberty, whatever you're imprinted during, like whatever your sexual imprint is during puberty for a male mammal, kind of gets stuck, which is why male humans or men, men are more likely to have non-trauma related fetishes. Like
yeah,
they might have seen something with like clothespins and the neighbor's boobs when they're 12, and like
yeah,
now they have a thing for clothespins. It
yeah.
turns them on. Like,
Interesting.
and you
Wow.
don't see this with women. Women remain plastic or remain more fluid throughout
Yeah.
their lives. I think there's even, I think I saw a Vice documentary about there's some villages, I think it was Guatemala, where the young men, I guess, since due to lack of access to females, they start their first sexual experiences are with sheep. And
Wow.
then you see these boys grow into men and they're actually not into women, they're into sheep.
They're like fetish. Yeah, because it's almost like whatever their first sexual experience is has a profound like imprint on who they become.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I mean, when you think about this with pornography, like I know personally, and I've spoken to a lot of guys who they had so many experiences, or like they only had experiences with women on a screen for throughout all of puberty, and they just are not, they just can't get turned on by a real woman who likes them, who's right in front of them, because they even have an emotional attachment to pornography, which is
Yeah.
really sick and twisted. But we are animals, and we're no different than the goats and the sheep and anything, and the
Yeah.
male brain works this way.
This is like, not only is this painful and destructive to men, but it's also painful and destructive to women. I'm a 35-year-old woman who's single, and that's what everything you just said scares me. I'm like, are there going to be any men left? But I mean, but then I look up to, I see you and your wife, you guys have a beautiful relationship. So it gives me hope that not all men are taken over by this. Like there's some men out there who are not. But that's also why I appreciate the work that you do, because it helps men in that situation to bring these things up as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and it's hard. And I think, I mean, not to go into conspiracy theory
yeah,
land, but like a lot of these forces, I don't think there's like there's some evil plot other than maybe you can say that Pornhub is obviously trying to profit off of male tendencies or whatever,
yeah,
but it is kind of like this general thing that our culture has moved into of like, it's kind of anti-nature. Like consumer products kind of replace a lot of things that we needed from each other, which
yeah,
forced men and women to be a certain way that was likable and useful to the opposite sex in hetero relationships. And there's so many things that are making it easier. So you think of like the typical young man who's maybe not so great with women when he's young. Why would he switch to the real thing if he's getting all of this fulfillment from Pornhub?
yeah. No, exactly. It's like, why, if you're feeling satisfied with that, but then I would imagine at a certain point, I mean, I can't speak because I'm not in a young man like this shoes, but I would imagine at some point there would be a lack of emotional connection. But you're saying that they even get some sort of emotional fulfillment from this as
I
well.
mean, of course, just like a substance addict, a porn addict is not really fulfilled. Like he's not happy about
Yeah.
being a porn addict, but it's an addicting thing. It's like it becomes so hard to connect with real women, and you're getting that real all of those feel good, that dopamine rush from your favorite porn site. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a huge hurdle to climb, and it's satisfying an itch. Whereas like maybe a lonely guy in the 1700s eventually be like, okay, I'm gonna figure out how to be likable,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And now you don't really have to do that.
Yeah. Wow. That's very destructive. Okay, my next question for you.